What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the Diesel Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube and aren't subscribed, make sure and click the subscribe button, turn on notifications, like and comment. Let us know what if there's other questions you have about the episode or maybe a guest or topic you want us to cover. We're always checking comments on YouTube. Love hearing from you guys. And when you engage with our episodes, it helps us reach other diesel enthusiasts. People are looking for the same answers or same information you are. And we want to make sure that when our guests come on and the companies that are on talking about their products, it reaches many people out there, help them save some money or fix a problem that they're having on their truck. So it goes a long way to help us. On today's episode, I'm going to be chatting with Jordan from Dirty Diesel Customs. We had chatted with him last year about 6.7 Powerstrokes and his race truck and a bunch of different things they're working on at the shop. I wanted to catch up with them, see what they've got planned for 2023, see what's new around the shop. They've got some really cool products and some things that they're working on. So I'm really looking forward to chatting with him today. Before we get to it, though, I want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors who help us do the Diesel Podcast, help us with content, and they're vital and integral to our success. Duramax trucks are incredibly popular. There's about a third of you who listen, every week who have a Duramax, and DMAX store is a really cool place. They specialize in just Duramax trucks, whether you got an LB7 or L5P, anything in between. That's their passion. That's their bread and butter. I know a lot of times when you guys reach out to us, you say, hey, I just picked up this LLY or this LBZ or this LML and I'm fighting this problem with it and I've taken it to shops. I can't find the issue with it. This is what these guys do day in and day out. So if you're having an issue with a truck, looking to maintain it, maybe you just bought something and you're just wanting to avoid, maybe some issues before they pop up, whether it's with suspension or heating, cooling, transmission lines, really anything in between, make sure and reach out to those guys. Just jump on to dmaxstore.com, or you can call them at 877-4MY-DMAX. They love chatting about Duramax trucks. If you jump on their site and you need help with something, or you're trying to plan out a build or a maintenance schedule, give them a call, send them a message. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook as well, super responsive to messages. So we appreciate their support. And for you guys out there that are looking to make sure that you keep your Duramax on the road or make it run, better than it did from the factory, those guys can definitely help you out and get you taken care of. Also, Kershaw Knives, we appreciate our friends over there offering a discount code just for you guys. If you use code DIESEL20, you get 20% off site-wide, which is huge. It's not just a special one-time weekend thing. If you listen to the Diesel Podcast, enter that code at checkout, you get 20% off. So if you're a knife enthusiast, you love different types of blade materials and opening mechanisms, handle materials, want to add something to your collection, or just something you need for utility, something to throw in a toolbox, in your glove box, or just have on you at the job site or something like that. They've got something for any budget. So make sure and check out Kershaw Knives on Instagram, Facebook, jump onto their website. Anything you add to your cart, just enter code DIESEL20. You get 20% off right then, and they'll get your order shipped out right away. All right, let's get to today's podcast with Jordan from Dirty Diesel Customs, talking about what's new at the shop, some new products that they got, and what's going to be new for his race truck in 2023. Jordan, welcome back to the Diesel Podcast. I had a ton of fun chatting with you last time about 6.7s and 6.7 Powerstrokes and dynos and making good power with them. And I follow you guys on Instagram, and you're always working on really cool stuff. So look forward to chatting with you today and kind of catching up a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having us on. It's always good to catch up, and we like supporting you guys. Love what you do. Listen to it all the time. So
we definitely appreciate it. And there's so many cool things that, diesel moves so fast. And I think when we chatted this summer, we were talking about dynos and 6.7 performance and stuff like that. But it seems like month to month, things are always changing and progressing. So I wanted to, see what's been new at the shop. What are some cool projects maybe you guys have worked on, or some new products that are out there? Just what's kind of been going on since we chatted last?
Yeah, well, I think since we chatted last, we were doing, we were checking out that new, we had a 22 Powerstroke we had bought. We did some testing on it, did some dyno testing, because at that time, Edge had just, kind of released that these trucks were putting out way more power than their spec to put out. So yeah, we dynoed ours, and bone stock, we put down 479 at the wheels, which is crazy. And we tried another one, same thing, like they're all very consistent at a decent power range. So yeah, we built that truck we bought that truck to build. We put an any level lift in that truck, and then we put some American Force 24s on it, the concave series, which was really cool. It ended up being a really nice looking, just clean truck. Took it to a few local shows, had some good hype on it. Anytime there's any level lift making that hydraulic sound going up and down, people are people are flipping their heads around what the heck's going on. So yeah, we went to a bunch of local shows with it, and then ended up selling it out east. It got trucked out east. So yeah, it was a fun project we did. We had a pretty big drag event this summer. It's kind of our first shoot, since COVID, our first shot at it, that it was fully open and we were allowed to have fun again. So that went really well. I think we had like 500 guys out or something to our event to check it out. So that worked out really well. We had some good trucks. We've got a local track here that's, it's an 8th mile track. It's way up in the bush. There's no service up there. So it kind of like, it's fun. Nobody's on their cell phone because, you have no service. So everyone's like really engaged up there. And we have a camp out the night before. So it ends up being a really fun event. And the racetrack is kind of okay. But we have a lot of fun. And like the event itself is fun to see everybody and catch up. So
one of the things I really wanted to get a glimpse into is kind of the performance side a little bit. With what you guys can do there is a bit different than here. And I was really curious, when people call in or they stop by the shop and they've got a newer truck, what are things that they're really looking to do? Or, what are some kind of hot products or things they say, hey guys, can you do, this to my truck or that? I'm just really curious how the diesel scene, is different in Canada versus the US.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, we're lucky enough to get away with things that you guys can't in the US. So it's still a big mentality to, get the thing deleted and get it running like like the old trucks were. That's still a huge mentality. With the newer trucks, we're not seeing the mileage gains that we used to get out of them. So a lot of guys, I mean, it's definitely quieted down, especially this time of year. It quiets down in general for that kind of stuff. But yeah, the majority of people coming in, we do a lot of even emissions on stuff. We do some emissions on tuning. We do lots of guys just want their truck to be more responsive. So a big complaint of the newer trucks is just like dead pedal and, turbo lag. So we get into some tuning for that. So those like Pedal Commander, Pedal Monster, all the throttle sensitivity boosters, those are really, really popular. A lot of that stuff leaves out the door. We do a lot of just general repair too, which, keeps the shop plugging away. But we've done some big engine builds this year. We've done some, did a couple big Duramax builds, Cummins annual compound, 100 over injector stuff, like nothing insane, but getting into that 700-800 horse range, that seems to be a fairly common level to build at these days, of where you can have a nice reliable street truck at that 700-800 horse, which is super fun on the road. So we get a surprisingly quite a few of those guys come through the door. Trying to think of what else we do.
Pretty much
we spend lots of yeah, we do pretty much everything, but we keep busy with lift kits and accessory stuff too. It's a good variety of stuff we get coming through the door, to be honest. So
it's a really interesting point that you made about fuel economy, because I think way back 10 years plus, that was a huge thing with really any of the Cummins, Duramax, or Powerstroke was. I think that was the reason most people in the US did it, either that or just the equipment wasn't quite ready, but they would get these huge fuel economy increases from it. And so to hear where you guys don't have this stuff and the new ones necessarily not getting that, I think it can also translate back to people we have listening in the US where they have a 2020, 2021, 2022. And, if they ask around or chat with somebody with an older truck, that was what they did. They wanted to get that kind of 5.9, or LBZ or 7.3 kind of fuel economy out of stuff. So to hear it's not like that is really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's it's a common misconception with guys, because I used to be able to, I've been around for a while. I used to be able to very safely say you're going to get 25, 35% better mileage out of the truck when it's, when we rip that stuff out of there. And now it's we'll be lucky if we see a gain, to be honest. So that kind of deters a lot of people. And I mean, we're very honest about that, because people will call in and yeah, I want better mileage. I'm like, man, you're not going to get better than 20 miles per gallon out of your 1-ton pickup. Like, it just doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
we're not seeing that. So that's kind of deterring people. And then the computers are getting locked up really tight. The 22 stuff, like we can still access the Chevy stuff right up to 23, but the 22 Power Strokes, like we can load in stock power tunes, but unless you want to swap your ECM to the older stuff, we're not able to add any power with just a flash. And then the Cummins stuff, 22, we can't touch. It's the same thing. People are swapping in older PCMs, getting away with it. But now, like in the last week here, we've just found out that the dealership their latest update is locking these computers up. So anyone with the 19 and newer Cummins, if you go to the dealer, like, you're done. And if you have ripped that stuff out, like, there's no option right now other than trying to find an older PCM, or putting it completely back to stock. So it's getting tricky for sure.
Would you say the reliability of these, trucks that are a year or two old is a lot better than what you saw in the past with them? I know it'll vary a little bit based on, like, we're talking 08, 6.7 Cummins, or 2019, but from your perspective, are they less finicky with some of the controls and the DPF and the EGR and all the components that go with it?
Yeah, they've definitely honed everything in. I mean, in general, they do work pretty well. We see the odd, like, the biggest thing up here is like DEF heaters. They seem to burn out over time. The 6.7 Power Strokes, actually all of them, to be honest. But yeah, we don't see a lot of that stuff for repairs, especially on the newer stuff. They're pretty good. They've got it kind of figured out. I mean, it's been going on like 15 years now that the stuff's been out. So they've really seen what could go wrong, and they've definitely refined the systems a lot more. Like, we used to do a ton of manual regens, just in the parking lot. Guys would get plugged up, and the trucks are pretty smart now. They don't, the odd one, we see obviously fluke things happen, but in general, they're pretty stout. See a lot of repair, don't see a lot of issues with them. Mostly people want it, they miss the sound. Like, that's the big thing. Like, yeah. I had a 5.9 Cummins and I want my new one to sound like that. Like, okay. So.
Well, before the podcast, we were chatting a little bit about racing and NHRDA, and I remember from our last podcast, you like to go fast and have a little bit of fun. So, like, heading into next year, are there some big plans that you have for racing, or maybe some customers that have stopped by and said, hey, there's going to be some races here. I want you to build this truck for me and put it together. What's the racing side going to look like?
Yeah, the NHRDA is coming back. Randy's brought it back. We were just saying earlier, like, I think it's been probably 5 years since they've been around. We used to sponsor that event when it was in Edmonton, which is about like 10 hours from us. So we would travel out, go to that event. He puts on a good show, lots of people from all around, and it gets this. It's a full circuit with like 6 or 7 races. So it goes through the U.S. I think the finals are in Texas. So yeah, that's really cool. He's bringing it to Canada. It's going to be close to us, so we helped sponsor that. It's going to be down at Mission at they changed the name, the Titanium drag strip now. So that's a full quarter mile, which will be awesome. Yeah, I've got a beat up old 6.4 that we back halved and put some power to it. Didn't do so well this year. It made a couple of good passes. I was like, yes, finally going to get to go fast with this thing. I got new injectors in it, and the transmission made 3 passes and said, see you later. So for my truck, I decided to get rid of the 5R110, which that truck came with, and I'm going to go to the older 4R100 with the PCS controller, so we can control everything manually. After I really wanted to keep that 5-speed in there and keep it all with the original 6.4 powertrain, but it just will not hold up at that horsepower level. And then this year the tranny's getting built right now, so it should be ready to go here in a month, I think he said. And then we've got, I know you've had, I can't remember his name, but from Kill Devil on here. So I bought his heads and that roller valve train from Jessel. It's going to go in there. And then I got a brand new Garrett G55 turbo going on it. So we're going to see if we can see if the engine will hold together with all that fuel and air. And everyone's bugging me to put a Cummins in it, but I'm going to keep the 6.4 until it, keeps going. If it lets me down, then we'll go another route. But Rudy's has been inspirational in that to see a truck go that fast with the 6.4 in it still. So looking forward to this year. Hopefully get some passes in. At our own event this year, we had the night before was the first race of the year. So the guys at the track were like, hey, you guys want to make some passes? We'll make sure the clock's working and everything the night before. So we were just hanging out and making hot laps. All the guys from the shop were running their trucks, and my truck was running good. And then next day on race day, it missed a shift and I lost all gears. So that was unfortunate. Couldn't really even get going at our own event, but looking forward to this year. I think that NHRDA event is in June, so we'll do that. We'll be putting one on hopefully the same time of year in the spring, summer sometime, and should get a few races out. It'd be awesome.
What now with the 5R? Would you say it was just an issue with power, or what was really the deciding factor to go to the 4R100? I know that like the custom tuning side definitely, will help with it, but is there sort of a power level where somebody out there needs to say, okay, maybe I need to go the 4-speed route and not keep messing around with the 5-speed?
Yeah, I did a lot of digging. There's not a ton of guys running a 5R for any high horsepower. They seem to hold up to about that 800 horsepower range, and then they just won't hold together. So I think the issue with the 5R is, the adaptive learning. I obviously can't drive this truck on the street and go like slowly break it in and make a few passes and get it to learn. I just like put it in, take it down the road, do a couple full throttle pulls. I'm like, okay, let's try racing this thing. So that, I don't think that helps. We just can't, it shifts different every time. It's not consistent. Whereas with a PCS controlled truck, we can just say at this speed, shift as fast as you can. Whereas this thing is like, it's kind of got a mind of its own. And I think that's the downfall of the 5R at that power level. I don't know trannies well enough to know if the guts are the problem. Like in this case, it missed a shift. I shouldn't say missed a shift, but slipped too long, and then it hammered into gear, and the planetary inside just exploded. So I think that if we could crispen up the shifts, like, it was working great the night before. So it just seems to have a mind of its own. And I think that's the downfall of the 5R. It is a good trans. Like we can, it shifts very crisp when it's driven on the street. Like some of the tuners that are out there, I used to have, Spartan tuning was really crisp shifting stuff. But when they were around, and all the custom tuning guys, they can make it shift nice and firm. It's just, it doesn't seem to like to hold up too much when you're just taking it from sitting in the parking lot cold, running down the track. You warm it up as much as you can, but I think without the learning and the constant driving, it's just not happy with that. In my application anyways, that's set up. So
and when you go to the 4-speed and, kind of adjusting the parameters that you can with the controller, are there certain people on the transmission side or companies that you're going to lean on to say, hey, do you guys have like a baseline for me that this might work, and what should I adjust, what shouldn't I adjust? Or I think I ran a PCS controller on a 48RE swap, and I was completely intimidated by all the things I could do with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need some help with what I do and how quick I have the converter come on, and there's just so many things I could play around with in it.
Yeah, I honestly haven't got it, so I'm not very versed in it either. I've never messed with it. There's another guy up in Canada here with a pretty wild 7.3 that he's got a PCS controlled 4R. So I'm going to lean on him a bit, help me out. He always comes up to our events. So I'm going to get him to help me out. And then I did mess around. Like we had a truck here with the fire pump controller in it. And so I don't know if it's anything like that, but I got a lot of time on that thing and learned that anteater controller. It's actually very good. A nice setup for the 47, 48s. But yeah, really, I'm just going to be shooting in the dark, and hopefully with some help, we can dial it in. But it'll be nice to have like full control so we can do, whatever we want to do, and, take a run and say, oh, I didn't like how that shifted. So I just tweak it from there. But I know what you mean. It's no different than, fired up EFI Live for the first time, and I was like, oh, I can tune my truck. This will be no problem. And then you start like flipping through all these maps, and you're like, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to do this by myself. So
with now with the NHRDA, and are you going to travel to all the different events and kind of go on the road a little bit, or what's your plan with some of the races that are out there?
I would love to. Yeah, there's some in Arizona. Can't remember where they all are, but there's a few that are, close enough that we would love to hit. I don't know about going to Texas and stuff. That gets pretty far and pretty far from home. So we'll see. I definitely would like to. It's a few of us local guys that kind of band together when it comes to race time, and we'll try and hit a few of these up and load up in the trailer and go. So yeah, it'd be fun too, for sure. I don't know if my life permits me going to 7 races all over the US, but do my best to get out to a few for sure.
Now, with you'd mentioned the local guys there and kind of banding together, are they Powerstroke guys as well, or do they have Duramax Cummins, or what's it like?
Yeah, not Powerstroke guys. No, it's just me. Mostly Cummins guys. I think you've talked to Mark from Deputy. He's got a nice Duramax drag truck that we work pretty closely together and hang out together quite a bit. So we'll see if we can band with those guys and make a few trips. It's fun when a few shops go together, and hunting for horsepower used to be right across the border from us, and we would all go down to that. It's a great time when they had that. And talking to Dynomite, I think he said that they might try and put an event on again this year, somewhere around there. So it'd be nice to go down and get to a few of those. They're super fun.
One of the really cool things I love doing a podcast is just chatting with so many different shops or people or racers, and I get a lot of listeners in Canada that want to do a build, and they're looking for a place to take their truck or somebody to call, ask questions, order parts, or sometimes ship them there. And so it's really helpful. Like on our first podcast, we had a lot of people message in, and they're like, they're not that far from me. I've wanted to do this with my truck. Thanks for having them on. And so it's so cool to be able to connect someone who's like listening in their truck, or they're working and they've got this Powerstroke, Cummins or Duramax, and be able to say, hey, Jordan, this guy's looking to do some stuff with his truck. And so I really love to focus on, kind of diesel performance there, because I know there's a lot of listeners we have that are in Canada, all over, different provinces. And they look to that expertise. And I think the stuff that you guys can do with, newer trucks and older ones and all the resources you guys have is really cool to be able to, help with the performance side, the racing side. I know there's a lot of fast trucks that are up there and people who are pushing performance. And so that's one of my favorite things about doing these is just, talking trucks and being able to connect people and enthusiasts to companies.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think a lot of US companies have kind of reached out to us for that same factor. They can sell a lot of performance stuff because the scene's still big up here, and it's still going strong. We don't have to hide what we do, the same as it might have to go down in the US. So yeah, we get a lot of people from all over Canada. We get people traveling from other provinces and to bring their trucks to us. And we're very fortunate in that. We appreciate every bit of work we get. Like we talked about before, we have a huge online store, so we ship all over the US and Canada. And same thing, I think people turn to us because, we do have a shop. We do get into the race scene. We do get into these, builds where not just a general repair shop, throwing on a tuner and kicking it out the door. So we have seen a lot, like I say, been doing it for 11 years now. So I've seen a few things, and was a mechanic long time before that. So there's a bit of expertise, and we've got a like an awesome lifestyle following around us, and we've got some great supporters. We love going to putting on events and seeing everybody come out, and it's just like a big family, and people want to be part of that family, and we appreciate that for sure.
I just thought of a question to ask you. With wintertime, I know this huge cold snap is, getting ready to hit, I think, all of North America here pretty soon.
Yeah, we got it this morning. We're at 25 below Celsius.
Wow.
Yeah, the 6 liters are hating today for sure. So
Well, it goes kind of right in line with my question because sometimes these guys will message in and they're working on a pipeline or it's just these temperatures we never see here, like in the lower 48, really. And they'll say, what can I do in these extreme cold temperatures to try to help with fueling or just, my truck start? What are some tips you would give somebody that's, it's below zero? I mean, there's some places in Wyoming, I think, that are with the wind chill coming up are supposed to be like minus 50, minus 60. And I'm sure there's parts of Canada that it's like that, kind of all the time. But I really don't have an answer for them. I don't know what to tell them because I don't see it that cold. So what kind of tips would you give somebody, in that position to protect their truck, to get it to start, maybe try to avoid gelling up and being stuck?
yeah, I mean the biggest killer is fuel for sure. So in the winter we fight. Pretty lucky if you're in a big town where there's good fuel stations. But like you say, a lot of these guys work on the pipeline, and the pipeline might be in the middle of nowhere, and there's just some little gas station they all have to fuel up at, or they've got a tank in the back of their truck, and you can filter it as much as you want, but if water gets in there, if snow blows in there, there's just moisture in it. So fuel additive is definitely big. We were talking about hot shots before, like we sell a lot of the hot shots, EDT with winter treatment, which we were just talking yesterday. Some of the guys had tried that in their own trucks, and it was pretty cold here yesterday too. And they were like, wow, my truck starts way better. A big thing on the older trucks is going to be injectors, right? As injectors get older, it gets hard to start. You're getting lots of leak by. Every injector has an amount of fuel that is going to leak past it. And as these get worn out and the truck's cranking over slower and it takes, it just takes more to start it. It might not have that oomph to get going on a cold day. So, lots of older LB7s, Cummins 5.9 stuff. A new set of injectors from any of the good manufacturers can make a huge difference in a good start. No different than like the Ford 6-liter guys. Like we've had, you have some 6-liters that won't even start at freezing, and they got to plug it in. And then you have ones with, a good injector and running good oil that'll start at 20 below with no issue. I mean, not happy, but they'll start. So any of the 7.3, 6-liter guys, the oil additive is huge. There's lots of companies making it, Hot Shots, RevX, Arch Oil, all that stuff. They all have their secret sauce in there, but they all do help start the truck up for sure. That's been a huge difference. I mean, I've seen that. I used to have a big service truck with a cat in it that has same injectors as the 6.0 and 7.3. And that additive made a huge difference in the oil. So, running a good synthetic 540 in the winter is big. Lots of guys opt for the, Hot Shots, Shell Rotella. That stuff makes a huge difference on those trucks. And it'll make a difference on the common rail stuff too. Just having a good oil in there, keeping everything, everything moves a little better when it's cold. And then you'll also get oil pressure right away versus, if you have some thick 1540 in there and it's 25 below, you might be running for 30 seconds before the top end of your engine sees any oil, which is hard on it. So
it'd really be almost really a maintenance schedule, kind of preemptive too. I've seen some guys, here, they're kind of freaking out and they're, trying to put the additive in, the day of, but, really kind of staying on a schedule with it, which I imagine they're with the temperature fluctuation, you guys are all dialed in to get guys starting to use it at a certain time of year and doing these things beforehand. So you're not just stuck out there on the job site and then it happens,
Yeah, I think people are pretty, we know it's coming up here all the time. It's definitely colder now than normal. This is pretty abnormally cold for us. So, but yeah, a lot of parts of Canada, you like you say, it's cold all winter, so they know it's coming. And you're right, you want to have that stuff in your fuel system. To dump it in your tank on a cold day, it might take a bit to work its way up to the the injection pump and the injectors. It's not just going to instantly go up there. So you want to have it in there. And same with that oil additive. I've seen that stuff work very quickly, but you definitely, if your truck's not starting, then you're kind of hooped. You don't want to be dumping it in on a cold day unless your truck's already running. But yeah, I've seen those guys come in with 6 liters in a cold day that is missing on a cylinder. and they'll dump it in the parking lot, and within like 2 minutes you can hear that thing like level out and start running better. So it's pretty wild how impressive that the additives can work. I feel like oil and fuel is stripped down of everything essential, and it's kind of the bare minimum that they can get by with to keep the things running. And to put the additive in definitely helps keep things alive, and it can keep, it makes if your injectors can last longer because they have, more lubrication in there, and they keep the water out of it, then it's a no-brainer for, a few bucks a tank. That's for sure.
And last time we had chatted about that Powerstroke and the really cool build, and you'd went through some of the things that you guys had done with it since we chatted last. But heading into next year, do you have a big build plan? Looking at a new truck, anything like that, or?
Yeah, I did order 23. Who knows if we'll see it this year, but yeah, we got a 23 limited Powerstroke coming. We obviously, nobody really knows we kind of know what they look like, but it'll be nice to see and see what we can do for that. And it would be fun. Yeah, we're kind of trying to do, one of those a year, do a fun build where, it keeps everybody kind of entertained and has a nice piece to park in front of the shop, take some photos of. So we really like doing that. The guys in the back obviously love doing that kind of stuff over working on some old stuff. So keeps the fun in the shop. And then it's also really cool to be like on the forefront of, test fitting parts for, companies like Any Level Lift, making sure stuff fits. Wheels, we're going to try and make our own set of wheels this year for the truck. Like I said, we did a set for my own truck last year. That was really fun with the CNC mill. We did a set of 2212s polished up and with our own logo in it and stuff. That was really cool. So if we do one this year, we'll be putting our own wheels on it for sure. We've had a lot of interest actually in the wheels. We just need to kind of bite the bullet and buy the blanks and get cutting some. The guys in manufacturing are just flat out with, new products that we're trying to develop for the everyday trucks. Wheels are kind of a more one-off thing. Obviously lots of fun to do, but yeah, that's kind of all we have on the forefront for this year. Just keep coming out with some new products. We messed with the LM2 Duramax. That's the new, I think that's the one for the new half ton Chevy. So we're doing a cat fuel filter adapter for those. We were lucky enough to have one in the shop that was somebody had stuck DEF in the fuel. So we had that thing ripped apart to, like, it was crazy how far that thing had to come apart just to get all the systems out of there. Like, we had the tranny out of it. Like, it was wild just to get at everything. They're not fun to work at or work on. I'll give them that, but they seem to be working pretty good, and we can come up with a couple little tricks for that. And we like to get the brand new stuff in and just trying to size up some trinkets that we can build in-house to, make the trucks work better, last longer, try and save people some money on changing fuel filters too. If you can buy a $20 cat filter versus the $150 OEM filter, it's nice. And, you're getting the same filtration. So
that's a big savings. And yeah, you're right. When the, a new truck or body style, these updates happen, the enthusiasts want to do stuff to them, or they want to, get to play around with them a little bit. So I think being right on the cutting edge of that, it's probably really exciting to be able to, take that 23 whenever it does hit and say, all right, guys, what can we do with it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got an engineer in house, and he's got his 3D scanner out all the time. And he's, as soon as we get something new in there, he's in the shop. He's got his head in there measuring stuff, trying to make new parts. Yeah, that's been super fun. I love that side of our business, and trying to develop some, little fixes for common problems. I mean, obviously we don't know a lot of common problems, but the obvious stuff like the filter adapters is huge. The new Powerstrokes are just coming out with, or not new Powerstrokes, sorry. The new Duramax are coming out with these like tiny little oil filters. So we're making adapters so you can run a full size oil filter again. Yeah, just trying to stay up with the new stuff and try and make little fixes for common problems. So
I've heard from some other guests I've had on in, completely different parts of the industry talking about older trucks and how there's a lot of parts that are, being discontinued by either GM or, Ram or Ford, and there's this huge void. So when you look at the older trucks, do you look at that as well and think, hey, I can't go down to the Ford dealership and get this anymore, or can't go to GM and get this part? Maybe we should look at doing this, kind of those fix it, kind of maintenance items that there's tons of people who are going to need them, and the dealership just can't support them anymore.
Yeah, it's been tough. You phone in for something that's like 2007 and the dealership tells you, oh, that's obsolete, discontinued. And you're like, man, that's in my head, that's like still a fairly new truck. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be honest, we haven't done a ton of R&D into that side of things. It's definitely a market that's going to be there for stuff that you just physically can't get anymore. With the older stuff, there's a lot more parts available just because they've been out for longer and there's lots of companies building it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there is going to be a void in parts that we just can't get anymore, especially like, you phone in for common things like, lines, fuel lines, cooler lines, stuff like that. And you just can't get it. And even the jobbers don't make it anymore. So there will definitely be a market for that. Well, there already is. And, it'll just grow as things become unavailable, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's no different than like with the classic stuff. You've got these huge companies that do everything for the classic trucks. It's becoming, there's like a span in there where the truck's not old enough to be like available from some big company that's come out with it yet, but there's nothing there from the dealers. So
yeah, there was an episode I did with a gentleman in Ontario. We're talking about first gen Rams, and he was telling me, on the episode about different things like emblems or weather stripping, things you can't get anymore. But there's a lot of these trucks on the road, and it's like, what if I want to, put some new badges on, or do this thing with the windshield, or just these little tiny things that if you own one of those trucks, you're going to want, and you're not going to be able to find it. So that was something that's really cool because I know there's a lot of people looking into the older trucks. Especially in the US, they want it something simpler, to operate, and it's great. But then, you need this door handle fix for an OBS Ford. Well, you call up the guy's CP addict, or reach to these different places. So it's really exciting to see the support of old and new trucks.
There's certainly like a following with those, the first gen stuff and the OBS Ford stuff. It's awesome, and I know those guys from CP addict. They're great guys, and I follow them too on Instagram and see all this cool products they make, like little fix-it things that you wouldn't even think of, and then you see it, you're like, oh yeah, it's right. Every truck that comes in here like that, it has that's broken or something, and they've thought of it and built it. That's wicked.
Well, I know that there's going to be people listening, and they might be near you, they might be a little bit of a ways, but they're looking for that expertise that we chatted about. And what are some ways, or really what's the best way to be able to reach out to you guys, whether it's on Instagram, call in, jump on your website, people ask some questions, whether it's about the 6-liter or winterizing their vehicle, or maybe they're looking for like a SEMA type build or something with their new truck.
Sure. Yeah, we kind of get everything, and you can get a hold of us. We've got a pretty big team of people, answering the phones, answering emails. So, and we've got, finally had to get a guy to kind of manage our Instagram, because I just, it's not fair to just not get back to everybody. So really, you can get a hold of us however you like, whether it be Facebook, Instagram. The most common thing is just people phone in, they want to chat about it. And I feel like that's still out there in the diesel industry more so than maybe some other industries, is people just like to talk about it. They want to phone in, they want to talk to a human. They don't want to email. So we've got lots of people answering the phones, and every one of them is an enthusiast and loves chatting about trucks. We've got a ton of knowledge here between all the guys. And yeah, we're more than happy to help out with, if your dream is to just something basic, or you want to do full blown SEMA build that we can be part of, or a full, something with big horsepower that you want to drive on the street and take down to the race strip. We do have, a ton of expertise in that. We've been doing it quite a while, so we'd love to chat about it and help out however we can. So,
well, it's always great to chat with you, and like I said, the first episode we did, talking about 6-7 Powerstrokes, the kind of power that you guys are making with them. I'm definitely going to be following next year when that 2023 hopefully hits here pretty soon for you, and then also the race truck, with the 4-speed, and seeing how that goes. There's definitely a loyal following of 6.4 owners. I've talked to them. I've had some of them on. They love that engine. They have the upgrades they need to do, and they're They're
Yeah, it's hard to
impressive.
beat, man. There's, when they came out and we could just put a tune on there and get 300 extra horsepower, like they've got a wicked fuel system, the very stout bottom end. And yeah, I'm super excited. I'm going to go to the 88 mil charger on there, single charger. So I don't know if it's going to come to life or not, but it's, being that it's a ball bearing turbo and I've got a like high stall converter in it. So hopefully we can bring it to life and make it work. I'm really excited for this year to try and make some passes. I'd love to get down to that, 590 and just be able to run there consistently and have the thing hold together. So, I'm going to fight it tooth and nail to not put a Cummins in it. So sorry to all the Cummins guys, but I'm going to try and stay true to the 6.4 and make it go. So
it reminds me of that shirt I think Jaron Holder has. I think it says "Nobody cares about your Cummins, bro," or something like that.
Yeah. I've seen that once. That's awesome.
Well, I definitely appreciate your time today, chatting with me. Give
Awesome,
me
man,
give me some insights into the different parts of the the market there, and keep me updated on the race truck. I'm really curious. I love racing, and it sounds like a really cool plan you got put together, and definitely have to sit back down and chat again.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate being on. Thanks for reaching out, and have a great winter. We'll talk to you soon, and hopefully next time we chat, we're on the road racing. So
don't forget, Diesel fans, if you got a Duramax, whether it's an LB7, L5P, anything in between, you're looking to make sure that it runs as best as it can. Maybe there's, it's a truck you just picked up, you want to avoid some issues. Guys over at D-Max Store, that's what they specialize in. That's their passion, are Duramax trucks. And we appreciate, their support throughout the years and the information. A lot of times they get a message from someone and I may not have had that particular model or face that particular issue. I can always reach out to those guys and be able to get an answer from them on what direction I should take, what parts will work to fix it. So whether you're looking to do something with the turbo, the engine, heating, cooling, transmission, fuel system, anything in between, those guys definitely got you covered. Just go on over to dmaxstore.com. You can check out everything that they have. Or if you have questions, want to talk to them, just call 877-4MY-DMAX. They love talking about trucks. They've seen pretty much anything that you're going to see, on a LB7 to L5P. So if you're looking to be able to get expert information, be able to make sure that you get the parts that you need for your truck, those are the guys to chat with. Also, don't forget, if you're in the market for a knife, our friends over at Kershaw Knives have a 20% off discount code for you. Just use code DIESEL20 on their website, and whether you're looking for a knife, any of the cool accessories that they got, it's a great way to be able to save some money, whether you're an enthusiast, a collector, or you just need something to be able to have on you, hunting, fishing, the job site, throwing a toolbox, something like that. They've got something for every budget. Want to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters, Tyler Loewen at 23 Diesel, Caleb, John. We appreciate all their support. All of you who subscribe on YouTube, podcast apps, you're on our Discord, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. You guys keep us going, keep us on our toes. We love doing this podcast for you guys. So suggestions you have for episodes, guests, we've got a ton of them. We got a lot of them over the holiday season. So we're going to be busy getting these guests and these companies on. But let us know, drop us a message. Let us know topics you want to hear or people you want to hear from. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.